Hello and welcome to Not Now in Theaters. My name is Will Turntail and I'm a writer and film fan from California. This episode is a little late and I'm sorry for that. This episode got more and more sprawling because the film left me so much to ponder before getting my thoughts down, and it took me longer than I predicted to get it together. We're talking about John Woo's controversial film Bullet in the Head. It seems like the least favored movie of John Woo's peak late 1980s, early 1990s Hong Kong filmmaking. But there are many fans out there that think this is his best movie. It has taken me years to get to see this movie, which has finally become more available in recent times. And I'm excited to break down all the chaos of it for you, as well as analyze if the heartache it causes is worth it. Before we start, a reminder that making films is hard and you have to respect that, so any criticisms are meant to be constructive. This review will contain spoilers. I'll do my best to call them out for you before they come up. Okay? Let's get to it. Bullet in the Head 1990 review. John Woo's depressing mess or aching masterpiece. I know the gunshot the title means, but John Woo's Bullet in the Head could refer to many different rounds right to the cranium. You know Woo as the action maestro who pioneered double-fisted, rolling and diving gunfu action. He launches explosions, scatters debris, and yeah, occasionally, those meme-worthy white doves flittering across the screen. Woo's arguably most famous Hong Kong films emerged in his late 1980s and early 1990s reinvention. After years of creating martial arts films, Woo embraced a new style: heroic bloodshed. With his new tricks, Woo unleashed his trio of films that influenced action cinema around the world. The 1986 gangster classic A Better Tomorrow, 1999's elegiac portrait of a hitman, The Killer, and 1992's batshit detective story, Hard Boiled. But to many Woo fans, there's one more, often overlooked, action masterpiece in his peak period: 1990's Bullet in the Head. And unlike the other three films, this one is like the Monty Python tradition of something completely different. All the themes of John Woo's heroic bloodshed, males with dodgy goals but strong sets of moral codes bonding in combat, are alive and well here. But while the action is exhilarating in A Better Tomorrow, The Killer, and Hard Boiled, this time he uses his bag of tricks to make you sad. Sad, sad, sad. And with a runtime of 136 minutes, this isn't a little sad time. It's a lot of sad time. A sad that just keeps the misery train rolling down the weary tracks. But this action, war, drama, and crime film, yes, all four in shades and spades, will rock you harder than Queen. The production of Bullet in the Head. Bullet in the Head was conceived as a prequel to John Woo's highly successful A Better Tomorrow, but friction between Woo and producer Sue Hark scuppered that boat. You see, the two had teamed up reportedly fractiously for the first entry, but when it was time to cash in on that movie's success with a sequel, A Better Tomorrow 2, well, things got extra dicey. There was a struggle over many choices. Woo and Sue's feuding spiraled so far that a game broke out where Woo and Sue were going back and forth with edits. One of them would secretly add or remove scenes behind the other's back, only for the other guy to sneak into the editing room and restore their version. They were like those good fairies in the Disney classic Sleeping Beauty, spell battling over the color of the dress. Make it pink, make it blue. Instead, arguing about the makeup of the film. With no way forward, the movie ended up being edited by a third party, and the film was released with that third party's cut. So for this third entry, the creative duo of Woo and Sue parted ways. Woo reworked his script for A Better Tomorrow 3 into Bullet in the Head. Sue went on to make the prequel himself, bringing star Chow Yun-fat with him into A Better Tomorrow 3, Love and Death in Saigon. But even though the creators split, their competition continued. Rumor has it that Sue, such a dominant figure in Hong Kong cinema, let it slip that Woo was difficult to work with. And so Woo was blacklisted by the local industry. Whether Sue's rumor spreading is true or not, again, this is all allegedly, I was not there, it's just what I'm able to read, Woo ended up financing most of Bullet in the Head himself. And in the book Once Upon a Time in China by Jeff Yang, Woo said A Better Tomorrow 3 was rushed to the theaters so it could crush Bullet in the Head at the box office. And to add to the injuries, Woo has said that making this movie is his version of Francis Ford Coppola's infamous, hellish experience in shooting Apocalypse Now. No doubt writing, producing, editing, and directing duties, on top of paying for the most expensive Hong Kong film made yet, mainly out of your own pocket, gave Wu some nightmares. But friction makes sparks, and many Wu fans with the director's fingerprints all over the film consider it his true masterpiece. So, is Bullet in the Head a good movie? Note, there are many cuts of this film out there in the wild. I watched the 136-minute version, which is streaming on Tubi with the extended ending, not the so-called boardroom ending. The plot of Bullet in the Head. In 1967 Hong Kong, 3 young friends, Ben, Frank, and Paul, occasionally get into fistfights with other local gangbangers. Meanwhile, riots over labor and social issues rage around them. Despite the uncertainty in his life and their poverty, Ben gets engaged to his girlfriend, Jane. To pay for his pal Ben's reception, Frank takes on a loan. But while he's running the money to pay for the party over, he gets jumped by a gangster named Ringo and his men. Frank takes a shot to the head with a bottle, but he manages to escape Ringo and his crew. He brings the money to Ben. But Ben notices the gash on Frank's head. Frank tries to play it off, but Ben gets the truth out of him. Picking up some bottles of their own, Ben demands they go get payback on Ringo. And I mean now, Ben's bride sitting there on her wedding night? Nope, Frank needs him. Then, in a frantic fight with Ringo and his guys, Frank accidentally goes too far and kills him. With the police after them, Ben and Frank go into hiding. Soon they decide, along with their buddy Paul, that fleeing Hong Kong is their only option. Leaving behind his new wife, Ben and his pals head for Vietnam with a load of contraband, hoping to make money as smugglers and profit from the war. They land in Vietnam, but when a Viet Cong suicide bomber blows up their car and thus their contraband, they are arrested by the army and beaten until the actual bomber is executed right in front of them. And this horrific beginning to life in Vietnam, watching a young man blown away, starts a chain of events that will forever damage their lives. The once petty criminals slip deeper into the underworld and farther under the umbrella of war damage. Can the group pull together and find a fortune in Vietnam? Or will horrific forces of war destroy their friendship? And just to take you through the cast of this fine film. Ben is played by Tony Leung. Frank is played by Jacky Cheung. Paul is played by Waise Lee. Jane by Fenny Yuen. Ringo by Paco Yik. And Luke is played by Simon Yam. And of course, you can read the rest of the cast here in the transcript. And just a note, the Wikipedia page for the movie lists the cast with the English names. I've gone ahead with those names in discussing the review, although I've listed Chinese names next to the cast in the transcript so you can identify which is which in case you're watching it in a different version. While using the Chinese names would be more authentic, this approach will make it easier for English speakers who haven't seen the film yet to follow what I'm talking about. Also, usually I insert a trailer here, but the trailer gives too much away, so we're skipping it, and I would encourage you to skip it. If you want to seek it out, though, you can find it on YouTube or IMDb, of course. So let's get into what's working so well in this movie. First up, we'll call this Oh, That Male Bonding, which is worth 3 points. I broke down heroic bloodshed in my episodes on The Killer, and especially A Better Tomorrow. But if you don't know the term, it's a genre named by editor Rick Baker in a magazine called Eastern Heroes. Flying high in Hong Kong cinema throughout the late 1980s, the genre is, of course, known for its stylized action sequences, which are a hallmark of HK action movies. Yet it's all paired with dramatic themes like duty, brotherhood, honor, and redemption, flowing through its, quote, good-willed criminals. And no, these aren't anti-heroes quite like how Tony Montana in the gangster film Scarface won't kill a car full of kids and women during a hit. This goes beyond painting lines around evil deeds you won't cross into doing. It's about unflinching loyalty to the men around you. And Tony Montana snorts a lot of coke, but doesn't get a whiff of what allegiance smells like. And I find heroic bloodshed a compelling antidote to the constant buddy cop trope that dominated American action films of the 1980s, 1990s. That was the deliberate pairing of opposites so that you could get friction and then find out, hey, we can be friends after all. For example, think of a film like Lethal Weapon, where crazed cop Martin Riggs, played by Mel Gibson, is teamed up with the too-old-for-this-shit veteran family man Murtaugh, played by Danny Glover. Here, instead, the entire movie is built around the connection between childhood friends Ben, Frank, and Paul, with Luke making their friendship triangle into a square later. Straight male bonding is the picture's driving force. The film actually opens with the three main characters fading in, each one in a sepia-toned portrait. And it's no coincidence that an instrumental version of the classic song I'm a Believer begins the film. That's supposed to be a love song, right? And then I saw her face, now I'm a believer. You would think the tune is playing because the movie opens with Ben and his lover, Jane, in a dance class. But it's not for the young lovers. It's a soundtrack for the guy's friendship. Because after the briefest of conversations with his mom, Ben and his pals, still to I'm a Believer, are in a wicked gangster fight around some parked cars. Later, you'll hear I'm a Believer in a different tone when Luke enters the bathroom while Ben is peeing. No, it's not going there, don't worry. But they share a look. Hitman Luke gently motions for Ben to get out of the way, and he promptly executes his target with several shots in the back. And with that, Luke, a fellow Hong Konger out in Vietnam, joins the group. Throughout the film, the characters face myriad tragedies and skirmishes, but the theme is that, through it all, this brotherhood is supposed to hold steady. Next up, we have the movie's blazing action, which adds another 3 points. Bullet doesn't glorify violence like other Woo films. The bullet diving, banister sliding, slow motion, too cool for regular speed gun fu is dialed back. Still, there are gallons of action with plenty of force behind it. There are kung fu brawls, harkening maybe back to Woo's older days as a martial arts director for the famous Shaw Brothers. Films of his I haven't seen but know of. They are baked potatoes of fight scenes, loaded with quick cuts, acrobatics, and mean moments. When Ben and Frank take on Ringo, it's pretty bananas. They stab a man in the leg, and Ben swings through the air on some chains, delivering a crushing body blow to Ringo that sends both men flying from the impact. The speed and ferocity of the attacks get you. In Vietnam, we get the exhilarating nightclub shootout. It's not quite the madness of the ending of A Better Tomorrow 2, or the hospital shootout of Hard Boiled, but it's thrilling. As Ben and his friends fight to rescue Sally from captivity, banisters get riddled with bullets, walls crumble into debris, and the body count ticks higher and higher. The great Chow Yun-fat, Woo's too cool action ace, is absent here, but Simon Yam's Luke pulls off the suave gunsmithing. He's got what looks like cigars, but are little poles of dynamite, effortlessly tossed at foes to cause damage. And with his white suit flowing, damn if he doesn't look excellent standing in an explosion's wake. And he's good with a throwing knife or anything that fires. Later in the film, the action turns into total war. Our heroes have landed in a POW camp, and the fight to get out is hell. Helicopters bombard from the air, assault rifles crack across the ground. Think Rambo 2, with the John Woo style. And now it's Oh, the Loss of Humanity, which adds 4 points. And a spoiler alert warning here. Skip it if you don't want anything wrecked for you. This film hurts. I watched this movie about 2 weeks ago at the time of writing, and I'm still trying to shake it off. As John Woo rewrote the script from A Better Tomorrow 3 into Bullet in the Head, he incorporated his feelings about the infamous 1989 Tiananmen Square incident. And when you watch this movie, you feel as though Woo tapped into any other trauma he was carrying around. It's not that he pulls no punches so much as he unloads an Uzi of reality at point-blank range. Your heart breaks maybe 5 different times, maybe 10. You see many innocent people die, some in the crossfire or at the direct hand of the main characters. You see how forces get so many people killed just as bystanders. It's always a mad world all around Ben, Frank, and Paul. And while they only started out as petty criminals, forces keep corrupting them into more and more bad deeds. Either the people they encounter or the barbaric choices they have to make to stay alive. It subverts your expectations of the good times gunfighting of other Woo films. In a different Woo movie, our characters escape the nightclub firefight, speeding away in a hot car. We glide into the ending as our likable criminals go out to celebrate their heist and rescue. Sally's ready to return to Hong Kong, and a trunk of gold is secure. Nope. Here, that's just about the middle of things. Here, Sally's bleeding. The group is speeding away but barreling through a battle between the army and the Viet Cong. The innocent bystanders, caught in a gunfight, are trying to grab hold of the car to get away. Frank says that they are suffering and begins to drop money out of the vehicle. Bills are picked out of the air by desperate fingers. And all the glory of escaping the nightclub alive falls away. We also see the riots in 1967 Hong Kong, which are based on real events. Jane and Ben, witnessing the chaos, try to escape. The madness of cops and civilians trading blows flows around them. Ben is scarred for life as a man tries to defuse an explosive and fails, blowing up right there in the middle of the skirmish. But the film transports you out of the chaos of Hong Kong and into the fury of wartime Vietnam. And without ruining the film, I can only tell you things will get worse. Soldiers betray and rob the people they are supposedly protecting. There are riots in Vietnam too. Sally is used as a sex slave and drugged. And I won't even tell you about just what happens in the POW camp or after, except to say to you, you'll be asking yourself what shitty choice you'd make in the same moment, and if you'll ever forget it. It's like Jigsaw from Saw made a guest appearance. The experience is shattering but effective. The corruption and disgust around Ben, Frank, and Paul batter their feelings and friendship. And now for Sad Happy Birthday, which adds 2 points. Because this whole film wants to wreck you, the soundtrack gets in on the act. There's a central theme for our trio, a virus to infect your ears. The song is like a theme for the power of their friendship, so I'm going to call it the Brotherhood theme. But because this is Bullet in the Head, the song sounds like a somber, arresting version of Happy Birthday. That probably doesn't sound intimidating, but I'm warning you now, it will crush your feelings like an orphan on Mother's Day. And the Brotherhood theme changes its tone as the movie goes on, almost like it's a beeping status beacon for the guys' friendship. In the opening scenes, you'll hear it sometimes on a saxophone, sounding sprightly. In moments where the guys are just running about and playing in Hong Kong, it's a whimsical music cue. But like the film, it turns to devastation. Later in the movie, when shit is really going wrong, it's changed to the woeful wailing of a harmonica. As Paul mistreats Frank or does something selfish, it's the mournful cry of their friendship he should hear, or what Frank or Ben feel in their hearts as he won't come to their rescue. Or it's there for Ben, watching Frank struggle to choose in the POW camp. The transition of the song, following the same path as R3's journey, achingly fits. Next up, it's those Woo moments, which adds 2 points. John Woo loves that slow motion for action, but like in The Killer, he'll use it here to emphasize a dramatic point. When the Viet Cong soldier is executed, we are close up on his head as the bullet goes through. The editing flips through Ben, Frank, and Paul, 3 shocked young men witnessing this terrible act. The soldier falls away mystically, sliding back in slow-mo. But it's enough time for the camera to pull focus from the dying soldier to what's in the background. Now that his head is out of the way, we can see the religious statue, a statue of the Virgin Mary cradling the dead body of Jesus. I don't know precisely what that means, but you feel it. You may also notice that the scene references one of the most famous photos from Vietnam, depicting the execution of Nguyen Van Lem. It's that photo where a soldier is pointing a gun straight at his head, seemingly the last moment of the guy's life, and you anticipate the violence to come. And there's the other trick Woo uses in this movie, repeatedly calling back to previous scenes and breaking you with the juxtaposition. When riots break out in Vietnam, it's once again Ben, now with Sally, watching the chaos. And we flash back to his moments with Jen, his lost wife, as he struggles to keep another woman safe. The editing shows us she's still in his head, and that he sees the same ugliness in another land. It's as if he's escaped nothing. But I love it because it's all visual, not dialogue or forced exposition. All you need to make the connection is there in the edit. And later in the film, the same technique comments on the trio's friendship. As the group unravels, we flash back to how the men used to ride their bikes down these same docks, but now chase each other on them in anger, guns in hand. And now for the film's scale and scope, which adds 2 points. The movie nails the period piece settings, spanning a sprawling Hong Kong and war-torn Vietnam. And the film is 136 minutes, which, if you like longer films, which I do, you're in for one. There's ample time for everyone and seemingly everything. It's as if the movie can flick a switch and change genres. Crime movie? Nah. War movie? Nah. Let's go back to crime drama. And when you think it's over, there's one more act to play, at least in the extended cut. So now let's get into what I think wasn't working quite as well. First up, where's Jane? Which takes away 1 point. And awarded, there are some minor spoilers here. Ben and Jane's romance became a marriage, but through circumstances, it is more like a one-night stand. Ben, fleeing to Vietnam, has an awful goodbye with her during one of the riots. She wants to be with him, but she can't abide a man who killed someone on their wedding night and can't keep her out of the chaos. Like an annulment, she kissed him goodbye. But as Ben tries to return to Hong Kong, I would have liked to know what he and she thought after some waiting time. He eventually reunites with Jane, discovering that he has a child with her, but this scene lasts about 2 minutes, and we don't even know what she thinks other than tears. The story may be about the men's brotherhood, but Jane was a vital side plot. What was the point of having her in the film if we're not going to deal with the fallout of his absence? It's not enough to wrap this up. To be fair to Wu, he may have had more of their story in the film. Golden Princess, the distributor, made him condense his initial 3-hour version. So he may have lost something that would have been here. Next, this one is just called Ouch, and it takes away 4 points. In case I haven't said this 5 to 15 times already, this film is hard to watch. It's like the hapless shoe being sacrificed into the dip in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Tough to watch. Except here, it's not a cartoon. Not everyone's gonna get through that. The film ends in screaming, and when it was over, I wanted to yell too. Next, we've got histrionics, which takes away no points. It's a thing in all these classic heroic bloodshed films for the actors to lean hard into their feels. Chow Yun-fat's famous outburst in A Better Tomorrow spawned that animated beaver meme people love so much. Some audiences have said this film is overacted. And while I can see what they mean, the melodramatic quality is a feature. Just like Wu's shootouts are impossibly precise and revel in slow motion, the characters leaking buckets of feelings are part of the show too. So I won't remove points, but want to note this for those who may not enjoy that over-the-top acting. So adding it all up, Bullet in the Head scores 11 points. On my scale of let's not watch, should I watch, or go watch this movie, that's enough to get go watch. But we're gonna go with should I watch here. Bullet in the Head broke me down into flour and baked me into 100 sad muffins. I have to watch this movie again someday because it has too much power to resist revisiting it. But I'm not sure if I want to undertake that task. The film is incredible. It's over the top. It has no rules. It just keeps going. It starts and ends in a protest-heavy Hong Kong. It takes you through war-torn Vietnam. It bridges 4 genres, and its body count is hell of high. Everyone is despicable, yet often trying to stay clean. And whatever it makes you care about could be taken away, and often will be. Nobody is allowed to make this sort of film now, at least not in America, and I'm glad Wu did this while he had the chance. With his own money and his own point of view, it's one that any John Woo fan has to see. But did I like Bullet in the Head? Weeks later, I still don't know. But was I moved by Bullet in the Head? More than I could bear. So while The Killer, A Better Tomorrow, and Hard Boiled are good movie forever canon, I'm gonna have to add this one. John Woo has called it his most personal film, shaped by his memories of the 1967 Hong Kong riots and his shock at the Tiananmen Square incident. And just in case any part of me ever thought it was alright, I don't want anything to do with crime or war. And on that front, John Woo, you did it. So if you want an action experience, if you want to see John Woo at his arguably most creatively free, yes, sign up for this one. But if you can't take the emotional stuff, stay the hell away. The Legacy of Bullet in the Head. So what's Bullet in the Head's legacy? Well, like the other movie he made just before, The Killer, it actually didn't do well in Hong Kong. It grossed HK 8,545,000, which is considered a disaster. Reportedly, audiences were put off by the references to Tiananmen Square with the riot scenes. But credit to John Woo, it said he felt audiences had to confront such things. Audiences' appetites for daring, risky, honest films have often faltered. And I'm not surprised this movie, just like The Killer, has had some positive reappraisal. And no, I'm not trying to take a shot at anyone and say I'm the superior movie nerd or because I gave this film a go. Only a limited number of people are willing to invest their time and money in an experience like this. This film forces you to confront grief and betrayal, unlike many crowd pleasers. It's worth pointing out that the movie has, at this time of writing, a 100% critical rating and 87% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Though that critical rating is just 6 reviews, the audience one is 5,000 plus. Many people compare the movie to Michael Cimino's Vietnam film The Deer Hunter, and strangely, I still haven't watched that classic movie. But I know its infamous Russian roulette game. That scene versus what happens in this movie, you can imagine an easy parallel. When filming some of the riot scenes, it said that things got so crazy that Woo actually panicked and ran into several of the shots. And one time he ran into an explosion, luckily getting away with just significant cuts on his head. In other madness, actor Simon Yam burned his face in the POW camp sequence, which is strange because his character, Luke, burns his face in the film. Sorry for the spoiler. It's just such a weird coincidence. The movie cost about $3.5 million US, which was the highest budget for a Hong Kong film at the time. And that's even though some of the helicopter footage in a camp raid scene is a mixture of stock footage from the Vietnam War and scenes from another Vietnam movie. Woo's original cut was over 3 hours. The distributor, Golden Princess, demanded that he cut it down to a commercially viable length, which means the original theatrical version is a result of extensive editing from Woo's final cut. But thanks to bootlegs, many cuts are out there. John Woo would soon leave Hong Kong cinema. He went on to direct the action classic Hard Boiled, which many consider his greatest movie, and then made his move to Hollywood. He did return to Hong Kong later in his career, which is, of course, still going. Tony Leung, who played Ben, if you don't know him, is one of Asia's most well-known and celebrated actors, as well as a singer. He's worked with John Woo for this film, Hard Boiled, and Red Cliff. He's in so many great movies you can't even begin. There are the celebrated Wong Kar-wai films, in which he has appeared 7 times. He's worked with Ang Lee and appeared in films like 2002's Hero, and he's been in one of my favorite movie series, Infernal Affairs, from the early 2000s. Jacky Cheung, who played Frank, is also a singer and actor. He's known as the God of Songs, which must really be something for his cantopop style. Like Tony Leung, he's in lots of celebrated movies. He's in A Chinese Ghost Story 2 and 3. He's got a role in the classic Once Upon a Time in China. Waise Lee, who played Paul, was, of course, Xing in John Woo's A Better Tomorrow. He's also featured in well-known movies like A Chinese Ghost Story 2 and 3, as well as Infernal Affairs 3. Apologies to any actors I didn't highlight. It's said on IMDb's trivia page about the film that John Woo had hoped he would acquire the rights to his old movies, including this one, once he reached Hollywood. And once he did, he would put back all the things in it that were forced to be cut. However, apparently all the footage he cut wasn't preserved and was thrown away. It's really too bad. Chow Yun-fat was originally going to play Luke. However, it seems that he didn't take on the role because Woo pointed out he would be the 4th most important character, which clashed with his leading man status. It also says Frank and Paul are based on real-life friends of Woo, with one becoming the leader of a triad and the other a drug addict. Yeah, you can guess which way each friend goes there. Okay, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't seen it yet, I hope you'll check out Bullet in the Head. And if you watched it, what do you think of the movie? Is it John Woo's underseen best film? You can reach out and let me know on Blue Sky using the link in the transcript, or just search for Will Turntail. And if you like this episode, would you take a minute or 2 of your time to leave me a review wherever you're listening from, if you haven't done that already? A few people have left reviews, and I so appreciate that. It makes a massive difference. Or if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. New episodes of this podcast come out on Tuesdays. Unless, of course, like this one, they get a bit delayed. Next week's episode will swing back to my continuing series on John Carpenter with his movie Vampires. It's the one where James Woods, one of the Baldwin brothers, and some no-nonsense vampires have a brouhaha in the desert. There are some who really like that movie, but I've got to say a lot to say about some serious problems with it. So tune in for next week's episode on John Carpenter's Vampires. And when that one is done, I may have the next Versus episode up and ready for you, which I'm excited for. It's going to be horror movies The Blob up against The Mist. So look forward to that one too. This podcast episode is a production copyright of Overegged Media LLC, located in Sacramento, California. Reference photos linked in the transcript are copyrighted by the Internet Movie Database. This review's factual information was gathered through online sources like Wikipedia, IMDb, or interviews. Misrepresentations and errors are possible, but unintentional. The introduction music is Neon Laser Horizon by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. The exit music is Voxel Revolution by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. And then, of course, the additional music, which was Dream Culture and Aerosol of My Love. You guessed it. Also by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, also licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Goodbye for now.